To make the case that Hamas is no better than ISIS, we have to look at the ideological origins of both organizations. The father organization for both of them is the Muslim Brotherhood. Muslim Brotherhood is the chief Islamic fundamentalist university in the world. All major Islamist theology and philosophy has come through them. Some of their famous graduates include Osama bin Laden, Zarqawi, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi,
Big Daddy Kane, you name it.
All your favorite terrorists have come through them. The stated goal of the Muslim Brotherhood is to establish a global caliphate by force. The difference between them and ISIS is their method of achieving this.
Muslim Brotherhood believes you should use democracy in Western countries against itself. Basically, destroy the system from within, diplomatically. But ISIS believes just kill them.
Exactly.
Just kill them all.
That's their chief difference. Now, what's the difference between Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood? Well, there's not much of a mystery here. This is one of the easiest cases in history. The second part of Hamas's charter says that Hamas is a wing of the Muslim Brotherhood in Palestine, and the Muslim Brotherhood openly acknowledges that Hamas is a military arm within Palestine. Case closed.
And I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those pesky Jews.
One of the reasons why groups like Hamas tend to garner more international support than groups like ISIS has to do with some people seeing them as a government and not just a terrorist organization. To understand this, let's look at the history of the Hamas government. In Gaza, 2005 is where we're going to start. In 2005, Israel gives the Gaza Strip back to the Palestinians. They take away all their settlements and move out the military occupation. For the next 2 years, Fatah runs Gaza Strip. In 2007, with the help of the Israelis, the Americans, and the international community, there is going to be a free and open election. In this election, Hamas is elected. If you're wondering, no, there hasn't been another election since then. Right after this happened, Hamas took control, and Israel put a blockade on the Gaza Strip. Why?
The answer is very simple. You just have to read Hamas's manifesto. Let's begin, shall we? Let's begin with this article. Peace initiatives, the so-called peaceful solutions, and the international conferences to resolve the Palestinian problem are all contrary to the beliefs of the Islamic resistance movement, Hamas. There is no solution to the Palestinian problem except by jihad. And no, by jihad he doesn't mean resisting temptations. Okay? It means killing the infidels. The initiatives, proposals, and international conferences are but a waste of time, an exercise in futility. Okay? This is their manifesto. The more interesting one is Israel, by virtue of its being Jewish and of having a Jewish population, defies Islam and the Muslims. And you wonder why Israel doesn't recognize Hamas as a legitimate government. Now, there are more funny stuff and cool stuff, like how women's place is at home, just raising kids, and how you remember those stories about how trees are gonna testify that there's a Jew behind me and you should kill him and all that stuff. There's all in there. All of them, all the good stuff, all the greatest hits are in there. And then they say, but why doesn't Israel negotiate with Hamas?
Well, let's look at article number 8. Allah is its goal, the Prophet is its model, the Quran is constitution, jihad is its path, and death for the cause of Allah is the most sublime belief. Since the 2007 blockade, Israel and Hamas have entered into an on-again, off-again type of ground war. The way this works is they'll build up arms for a while, Hamas will build its artillery, and then it will build tunnels into Israel. So there's tunnels underneath UN schools, they'll go, pop out in Israel, and shoot a bunch of people. In an attempt to get rid of these tunnels, Israel then has to go into the Gaza Strip and take them down. What happens here is when Israel goes to the Gaza Strip, the military strategy of Hamas is to create as many civilian casualties as possible. You don't believe me? Here's a video of Hamas launching rockets near a UN school. And here's a video of Hamas launching a rocket near a group of huddled children.
You see, what happens is Hamas shoots rockets from these locations, crowded locations, and UN buildings into Israel. Now, Israel wants to retaliate, but before they retaliate, I think it's the only country in the world who does this. They firebomb the area, announcing that in an hour we are going to bomb this building and that building or whatever. And they even announced it on radio to give time to people to just get out of those buildings and run away. But what happens is this. That was Hamas operatives not allowing people to escape those buildings. Why, you might ask, a government that is in charge of protecting its people forces them to die as much as possible, as many of them as possible. Why is that? Because that is their PR game.
التي دعت للمواطنين لعدم الاستجابة لتحذيرات الاحتلال.
ندعو أبناء شعبنا الفلسطيني وندعوهم للبقاء في بيوتهم.
The world sees children dying and they already hate Jews, most of them, so it's easy to just go after Israel. That's the game, and that's how they win the PR game every time. Now, some of you might be asking, isn't artillery expensive? Where does Hamas come up with all the money? The answer is simple. Sugar daddy. You see, Islamic Republic of Iran pays for all the warring that Hamas does. Now, again, some of you who know more about the region might ask, but why does Islamic Republic of Iran, which is a Shiite regime, support Hamas, which is a Sunni group? The answer might not surprise you. They all hate Jews. Yes, they all hate Israel and Jews. And Islamic Republic wants Israel to be at war in that region so nobody focuses on Iran. That's why they pay good money to Hamas to just kill their own people. And the other problem is that because Hamas takes all this money from Iran to create these wars and these conflicts, they don't have an incentive to end it, because if they end it, the money runs out. Arafat tried to end it, and Iran completely cut him off from the teeth and started bashing him. Mahmoud Abbas did the same, and the same thing happened. So Hamas says, I want the money to keep coming. Make it rain, baby. Make it rain.
So this brings us to the current state of affairs in the region. You have a rather intractable conflict with two sides locked in negotiations that aren't really going to go well, as neither side trusts the other. The current problem centers around the body of two Israeli soldiers, Oren Shal and Hadar Golden. In 2014, during a UN-sanctioned ceasefire following the Gaza ground war, Hamas killed these two soldiers and took their bodies back into the Gaza Strip and are currently holding them ransom in exchange for 60 convicted prisoners held in Israel.
That's kind of low, right? Or is it just me? Like taking two dead bodies and keeping them hostage?
Sadly, nowhere near the worst thing they've done recently. The problem here from the Israeli side is these hostage negotiations never really go well, as since 1985 there's been about a 50% recidivism rate. The most famous example was in 2011 when soldier Gilad Shalit was exchanged for over 1,000 prisoners.
But he was alive, right?
He was alive. So of the 1,000 prisoners released, since 2014 it's estimated that 6 Israelis have died by the hand of these terrorists who've been recycled back into the ecosystem. In situations like this, the silence from the UN is rather telling. A group that Security Council spends more than half of its time condemning Israel, yet fails to condemn Hamas on very simple points like this, shows why the conflict is set to go on forever. Hamas's current line of negotiation to Israel is either you stop existing completely and accept our utter and total domination of you, or we'll kill every single Palestinian we can find. This is ridiculous. If you'd like this to stop, or you'd like the UN to do something, we suggest you try going here and sign this petition and see if it will.
At least asking UN to take a stance on this. That, hey, we don't agree with using dead bodies as hostages. There's a petition that you can sign in, and maybe we'll see if UN decides to react to it or not.